Merry Christmas, guys! Santa's come early this year with another downfall of PVZ video that I've got to take apart. So yeah, this video came out recently, The Rise and Fall of Plants vs Zombies by the channel Entertainment Anarchist. So I skimmed over the video quick. I thought it was pretty damn terrible. It feels like an amalgamation of basically all the other downfall of PVZ videos you see around. There's another one by the guy called Bear. I think it's how PVZ lost 96% of his players. I didn't do a reaction to that one, I just wrote a comment about it. And yeah, it wasn't the worst one in the world, but that's the thing. There's no reason for any of these to exist anymore, given that Dana did a 3-hour documentary on this topic. So yeah, and that's come from me who had quite a few issues with Dana's video. So the main reason I'm doing an entire video on this one is because I'm sure the channel is deleting all the comments that are criticising it. Like, when you go over to it, it's got quite a few dislikes, but all the comments like, oh, yeah, ruined Plants vs Zombies and etc, etc. People on my Discord have written comments on it as well that have disappeared now, so yeah, it's pretty obvious what's going on here. But hey, he can take down my comment, but he can't take down this video. Right. But yeah, let's dig down into this one. So the other thing that's suspicious is when you go into the channel, this is its only video. It's got 11.5k subscribers, so one of two things happened. So what's probably happened that they had a few videos in the past that have now been taken down. That they must have been pretty popular then, given he's got a decent amount of subs. Or there is another thing though. He could have bought the subscribers. The channel also seems to be trying to copy the popular channel Internet Anarchist. I don't know what you make of that. Is it just a coincidence? But yeah, that's also quite sus. The other thing that people have noticed is that I don't know how much I believe in this one, it's only a theory, but the belief is that it's AI generated. Yeah. Also, it's been pointed out to me that even his profile picture looks like AI. So yeah, the telltale signs are there. So let's go then.
In the late 2000s, Plants vs Zombies was the epitome of a perfect casual game. It combined accessible, charming gameplay with a quirky concept that drew in millions of players worldwide. It became a cultural phenomenon, adored by hardcore gamers and younger audiences alike. But behind the colourful facade...
Yeah, this opening narration sounds pretty dime a dozen. Not really much soul in it, but at the same time that is sort of typical of these kinds of videos.
Started as an indie game success story, became yet another cautionary tale about corporate greed, monetization, and the destruction of a beloved gaming series. Iconic games of the 2000s lose its way. This is the story of Plants vs Zombies, from its meteoric rise to its inevitable fall.
Yeah, there's 2 times fast forward things. See, YouTube's added some good stuff
Understand the rise of
occasionally.
Plants vs Zombies, easy to learn games that appeal to a broad audience.
I mean, yes, this is all true, but like, we all know this at this point.
It's recognized that there was a massive untapped market of players who wanted something more approachable. Their games were designed to be fun, lighthearted,
Yeah, I mean, yeah, Peggle was
above
good,
all,
so yeah, that's
easy to
something.
pick up. Then what if you took the mechanics of a tower defense game and combined them with a whimsical, offbeat theme, increasingly bizarre zombies? It was this blend of humor and strategy that made Plants vs Zombies.
This might be legitimate
out.
voiceover. It didn't sound that AI to me, but like the script might be AI made.
Level introduced new challenges, and every new plant or zombie type added an extra layer of strategy. Players weren't just defending their lawn, they were having fun doing it. The result, a massive hit. Released in May 2000.
PVZ1 stuff is like universally positive, yada yada. So I kind of expected that.
And soon, PopCap would face its biggest challenge yet.
Now, here we go.
In 2011, PopCap Games was acquired by Electronic Arts, prioritizing profits over player experience. The EA
yeah, we all know this is
acquisition
true.
marked a turning point for PopCap and for Plants vs Zombies.
Yeah, but spawned hell with Plants vs Zombies 2, and we've got the shooters out of it. We'll get on to the shooters later, but yeah, so far sounds like a good thing. And it mostly is, regardless of what they've done in recent times,
While
you know.
EA and in 2013, their wishes were granted. Plants vs Zombies, It's About Time, hit mobile.
Okay, now I'm suspecting it might be an AI voiceover, because that's a very weird way to say it. I'm actually going to go back and rewind it.
Their wishes were granted. Plants vs Zombies, It's About Time.
Yeah, Plant vs Zombies. It sounds like saying Plant vs Zombies and then It's About Time, the tagline. Yep, I think we can firmly say, busted!
Unlike its predecessor, Plants vs Zombies 2 was free to play. On paper, this sounded like a positive change. It allowed more players to access the game without paying an upfront cost. But in reality, it was a bait and switch. EA had filled the game with microtransactions.
PopCap did it, not EA. Also, right here is focusing on mostly CDMs, which, I mean, there's a pay-to-win element to it, but they're not outright monetary plants. They're like grinding C-Fang and stuff. I mean, the grindness of that is another thing on its own, but yeah, I don't know how relevant that is to this.
Some of the most powerful plants behind paywalls and slowing down progression to encourage players to spend money. Levels became repetitive and progressing through the game became a grind. Players were willing to shell out cash to speed things up.
Game is very possible to beat without paying, you just suck. Also, let's be honest, Plant vs Zombies 1 is more repetitive than Plant vs Zombies 2. I get 2 is longer with the old levels and you get much more per worlds and stuff, but there's more brain busts and stuff to mix things up compared to PVZ 1. It's got the 5th and 10th level of each world that always differ, but yeah.
We can buy coins, tons of coins to buy stuff. We can actually go to a physical store to buy t-shirts and more.
The editing is very sloppy as well. I mean, I've sort of had this issue a couple of times myself, but you should have cut the background music out because now you've got the 2 songs overlapping and it sounds like a bit of an auditory clusterfuck. Also, remember when the premium plants were that cheap? Yeah, that's something you could actually fault EA and PopCap for. But remember, it's a free game, they have to make money somehow.
Plants vs Zombies 2 was still a well-designed game, but its reliance on
he's giving us some credit.
Alienated much of the franchise's core fanbase.
I mean, I guess he's not wrong that it did alienate the fanbase because obviously there were some big complaints about that. So I guess it's mostly going off of the general reception, not his own opinion, or the machine's own opinion.
This marked the beginning of Plants vs Zombies' decline, but the worst was yet to come.
Okay, this bit I've already seen a bunch of fans. Yeah, it really pissed me off.
But instead of focusing on what made the original game special, they chose to take the series in a completely different direction. In 2014, EA released Plants vs Zombies, Garden Warfare. To be fair, Garden Warfare wasn't a bad game. In fact, it was well received by both critics and players for its fun, accessible gameplay. But it was clear that EA was trying to chase trends in the gaming industry. With multiplayer shooters like Call of Duty and Battlefield dominating the market, EA saw Plants vs Zombies as a vehicle to tap into that lucrative space.
Yeah, and how that bad thing? Like, you're just going to complain that every game isn't exactly the same as the original. Also, was it even EA's decision to make a shooter, or was it PopCap's? I mean, that bit, like, I don't really give a shit who it is, to be honest, because what we got in the end was pretty damn good, so, yeah.
The original Plants vs Zombies was a single-player, strategic experience. Now, the series was focused on multiplayer, competitive gameplay, something that didn't resonate with the franchise's original fanbase.
Yeah, and what, bro? Like, you literally said it was well received, so why that an issue? Also, I know there is a competitive element to it, but Garden Warfare is not a competitive game. It's a casual game. I know some people think it's competitive, especially with Garden Warfare 2, but it's casual.
As EA continued to push the series further into the realm of online shooters with sequels like Garden Warfare 2 and Battle for Neighborville, the disconnect between the franchise and its fans grew. Plants vs Zombies was no longer about charming tower defense gameplay. It had become a franchise driven by
and it worked.
Molded to fit whatever trend EA thought would make the...
Also, you're doing Garden Warfare 2 dirty here. The Bear Guy was guilty of this as well, but like generally considered much better than the first game. Bad takes all around.
And for many long-time fans, this was a bitter pill to swallow.
I mean, they could just not play the shooters if they don't like it. Oh, here we go.
One man was conspicuously absent from the decision-making process. George Fan, the creator
conspicuously
of the
absent
game.
is a bit of an AI-ish phrase.
Fans speculated about fans' involvement, or lack thereof, in the development of Plants vs Zombies. Why wasn't the creator
Okay,
of
so
the series
that previous shot
working
would
on
look like an old one because the abilities
sequel?
look different.
In
The ability
2017,
icons.
During a live stream with Super Meat Boy creator Edmund McMillan, Fan revealed that he had been fired from PopCap after EA acquired the studio.
Fired and laid off are not the same thing. Also, okay, at least the guy's showing a quote of George Fan saying it, so it's not a complete lie. Yeah, he wasn't actually fired, and the whole protesting against microtransaction thing, he didn't want them in, but it's not like they fired him for that.
The reason? Fan had opposed the heavy monetization of Plants vs Zombies 2. Fan's vision for the series was rooted in creativity and accessibility, But EA had different plans.
PopCap.
They wanted to capitalize on the growing free-to-play market.
Like, at least there's a
implement
recent
aggressive
screenshot of the shop.
monetization strategy.
The monetization is
For
kind of aggressive
many
there.
His departure marked the end of an era, and without him, the series would never be the same.
Knowing the guy,
Yeah, once again, not everything has to be the same as the original game.
sequel, and we're going to put it on mobile, and we're going to do this pay to win. And he's like, I don't know, it's not a good idea.
Whoever
I don't
this,
really
whoever
want to
this
do
is
that
chatting
with
as
game."
well.
The revelation sparked outrage among fans. The idea
Because this
that the
editing is quite
creator of
repetitive as
Plants
well.
vs.
This whole like
Zombies had been
side perspective
fired
thing
for standing
shifting.
up to
I don't know,
corporate
it's kind of
greed
annoying.
was
I guess it's
emblematic of
inoffensive
everything
compared to the
wrong
rest.
with the modern gaming industry. It was a reminder that for companies like EA, profits came first, and creative vision came second.
Cancel. Okay, Plant vs Zombie 3. We get on to the more recent stuff then.
But it was no longer the beloved cultural icon it once was. In
I mean, that might have something to do with the game,
EA
the franchise
attempted
being
to bring the
15 years
series
old.
back. After a limited soft launch, EA quietly shelved the project in 2020. The game never made it to a full release, and fans were left wondering what had gone wrong. Whatever the reason, the cancellation of Plants vs. Zombies 3 marked the end of an era, its former self.
I mean, what cancellation are you going on about here? If it's from the first version, I mean, that's one thing, but it's been cancelled a bunch of times, has it not? Or reworked a bunch of times. Right now, as I speak, the game's not playable because they're revamping it yet again. I mean, don't get me wrong, this game sucks, so he does have some good points here, but this feels badly researched. Legacy and what could have been. Oh, is that an intentional reference to
As we look back on the rise and
yeah,
fall
that
of
the
could have
cancelled
been,
PVZ 3
the
fan
original
game.
game was a breath of fresh air in the gaming world, a quirky, creative, and genuinely fun experience. The story of Plants vs. Zombies is not unique. In many ways, it's a microcosm of what has happened to countless other franchises in the gaming industry.
So
What starts as a
why
passion
do this
project,
video then?
fueled by, despite its decline, Plants vs. Zombies remains a beloved game for many. The original title is still fondly remembered as one of the best casual games ever made.
And Garden Warfare 2 is very beloved as well, and to a lesser extent Garden Warfare 1, and let's be honest, Plant vs Zombies 2 is a pretty well-liked game nowadays, regardless of some of the bad updates they've done to it in the past couple of years. There's no outro, so there's your slop, guys. Anyway, checklist. Quang P shooting thumbnail, check. Red arrow, going down, check. EA bad, PopCap good, check. PVZ 1 is a masterpiece, check. Microtransactions complaints in PVZ 2, check. BFN criticism, but he actually did and he only touched on it for like half a second, which is surprising. George fan misconception, check. Old footage, check. Misinformation, also check. Yeah, there you have it, guys. Is this the worst video I've seen of this kind? Probably not. I'd have to say Beaks is still the worst just because of how much he slandered the music, and the completionist take on it was bad as well, but at least those were humans doing it, I guess. So I've been going into Vlogspot. Check out another video on this end screen. Check out my Colligious Carnival gameplay on PVZ2 Reflourished, and I'll see you soon.